Welcome to the Skeptic Zone, the podcast from Australia for science and reason.
Hello and welcome to the Skeptic Zone, episode number 285 for the 6th of April 2014. Richard Saunders here with you from Sydney, Australia, where if I listen out the door, listen out the window, it's still raining. Well, we did have some days of sunny, hot weather, but now the rain has come back. And for those of you in Sydney, the 7-day forecast. Monday, possible shower, minimum 18, maximum 23. Tuesday, cloudy, minimum 18, maximum 24. Wednesday, possible shower, minimum 18, but yeah, I'll go on later. But I don't think you want to hear the weather forecast. I think you want to hear what's coming up on this week's episode of the Skeptic Zone, and we travel to sunny Canada. Sunny sometimes Canada. We speak to Michael Kruse from Bad Science Watch. Now, these are the people in Canada who watch for bad science. That's why it's called Bad Science Watch in Canada. Sort of makes sense when you think about it. Michael's going to tell us about what they're up to and their investigations into aspects of Chinese traditional medicine. After that, it's astrology. Yes, astrology from the pages of the Skeptic magazine. Doesn't make much sense, does it? Well, we have your stars for April coming up after that for a little bit of light relief. And after your stars for April, it's a week in science from our friends at the Royal Institution of Australia. And then to round off the episode, a few interviews I conducted at the last Sydney Skeptics in the pub. With some interesting information for those of you in the Sydney area and the Blue Mountains area about other skeptical and philosophical groups that get together to meet. And before we get into the show, a couple of notes from me. Oh joy, I noticed that World Homeopathy Awareness Week is coming up, the 10th to the 16th of April, and their theme this year is Homeopathy for Men's Health. Gee, thanks homeopathy. And a big fat to the Better Health channel, www.betterhealth.vic.gov.au. Yes, it's involved with the Victorian State Government. They're actually publicising World Homeopathy Week. Huh? Description. This year's theme for World Homeopathy Awareness Week from the 10th to the 16th of April is men's health. And it mentions a few of the things they're looking at, including prostate cancer. Good heavens, what on earth are you thinking? Better Health channel at betterhealth.vic.gov.au, publicising homeopathy and mentioning it in relation to prostate cancer. You numpties. You might want to go to Twitter and express your frustration. And if you want to do that, their Twitter handle is @BetterHealthGov. But in better news, better announcements, those people in Canberra, in Australia's capital, you lucky people. You get to go to the Canberra Skeptics events, and I notice there's one coming up. Liquid Fuel Security. It says, she'll be right. A talk by Air Vice Marshal, retired, John Blackburn. Now, this is only one in a long line of great talks that you can enjoy. With the Canberra Skeptics, the best thing to do is to go to www.canberraskeptics.org.au. You can actually sign up for their newsletter if you're in the area, and you won't miss out on one of these excellent talks again. Another quick shout out to the National Geographic Channel. Thank you to the Australian National Geographic Channel in particular for supplying me with Cosmos packs, and I hope everybody around the world is enjoying this wonderful new series of Cosmos. Well, that's all from me at the moment. I'm going to run downstairs and see if I've got any good Japanese food about the house. Miso soup. I quite like miso soup. Pickled ginger. That's pretty yummy. It's all pretty good. Sushi and sashimi and all that sort of stuff. I'll see what I can find. I'll see what I can find. While I'm doing that, I hope you enjoy the Skeptic Zone. It's been a long, cold winter, folks. It really has. It really has, especially for those people living in the wonderful country of Canada. Canada, which was my home from 1968 to 1969. I remember it well. No, I don't. I was too young, but never mind about that. Canada is full of famous people. Famous people have left Canada. I'm thinking of, I don't know, Donald Sutherland, William Shatner, Paul Schaefer, and a host of other famous Canadians. And, of course, a very famous Canadian is on the line with me right now from Toronto. It's Michael Kruse from Bad Science Watch. Hello, Michael.
Hello, Richard. I'm going to have to try to live up to that introduction. I'll do my best.
I do have very slight, fleeting memories of Canada when I was just a little kid, and I remember the snow. That's what I really strongly remember, the huge snowdrifts. And I understand that spring has come back to Canada at last.
Oh, finally. It's been interminable, it seems. Months and months now we've had just heaps of snow. And even in Toronto tends to be a bit milder than... You were in Saskatchewan, I think, weren't you?
I was. I was in Saskatchewan, indeed, yes.
That's quite a heavily laden area for snow.
It certainly is.
Toronto is usually whining about, minus 10 degrees, and it's minus 50 out in Saskatchewan. But no, finally spring has come, and we are just celebrating.
Sounds good. I wish I could be there to celebrate it with you, but to be honest, I'm looking forward to winter because we've had a particularly a humid, hot summer with lots of humidity and moisture and humidity, and I'm sick of it, so I'll swap you.
Yes, I understand. I take a bit of humidity right now.
Never mind. Let's get on to more important matters, of course. Now, we've been running promotions for Bad Science Watch on the Skeptic Zone for 2 years now, or in that area. What can you tell us about Bad Science Watch? How's it going lately?
It's going very well. We've been very busy over the past year, sort of ramping up our project efforts. Of course, we're a completely volunteer organization. We've been trying our best to sort of keep up with demand, as it were. As Canada, just like any other place, has a lot of fights we need to confront, or a lot of fights we need to take on to confront bad science, certainly, and certainly bad advertising and the misuse of science for people's gain. So we've been very busy over the last couple of years, focusing mostly on science and public policy. And one of our latest projects was just such a thing when we were taking on a new public consultation from Health Canada.
Now, this is, I guess you're referring to something that caught my attention last week, or not very long ago anyway, via a media release. And this is all about the Health Canada ignoring evidence of harm from Chinese medicines.
Yeah, we have, last year we sort of, one of the major impetus for our development was to take on a new policy from Health Canada, which is our national health service. That does mostly, it's a regulator mostly, and they have a department called the Natural Health Products Directorate, which was set up to manage non-pharmaceutical but non-food items. And it's got a separate kind of framework for regulation for these products, separate from pharmaceuticals, and has its own kind of way of approaching the regulatory or the licensing of these products. And these range from herbal medicines and homeopathy to, yes, traditional Chinese medicines, considered herbal medicines, as well as things like shampoo and other kind of personal health care products. And one of the problems that we identified is that they really attempted to streamline the process of approval. We think because of pressure from the manufacturers to sort of allow them to enter the market quicker. And they have currently over 60,000 products licensed, which is an incredible amount. They were only set up in 1997 and really only got going in 2004. So they've been extremely busy. But the problem with licensing so many products is that the the quality of the assessments has really, we feel, gone down in the last few years, especially with the rollout of a new program that happened a couple of years ago called the Pathway to Licensing, which sort of tells the entire story, right? They're not really concerned, we feel, about protecting the public and more about helping manufacturers getting their products to market. One of the ways they do this is by producing what are called monographs, which are sort of outlines of what you can say about your product and its indication, dosing, and the ingredients it contains. And if you follow that kind of recipe, then you'll get a much quicker approval of your product. And one such monograph recently was one for traditional Chinese medicine ingredients. So traditional Chinese medicine is a whole system of medicine requiring, diagnosis and very specific and sometimes odd methods for that diagnosis. But one of the things that Health Canada regulates is the actual ingredients used by traditional Chinese practitioners and others like naturopaths and sometimes chiropractors and herbalists and things like that. And so we looked at this monograph and really took issue with it. It has, most of these monographs have about one, maybe two ingredients, or they have one genus and several species of a plant, much like, let's say, Echinacea. So there's 3 or 4 species of Echinacea, and they've got those all in one monograph. This monograph had well over 400 ingredients on it, or close to 400 ingredients. So it was a real kind of departure from their usual approach. So that was a red flag for us, and we knew we had to comment.
Absolutely. And, it's strange as you're telling me about this, I can't help but think of our own Therapeutics Goods Administration in this country. And you may be familiar with this, I'm not sure. We have a system here where a supplement or a drug can either get what they call an OST for Australia R listing, which stands for registered, or an OST L, which stands for listed. OST R on a product means it's been thoroughly tested for efficacy and demonstrated scientifically to work. OST L listed only means that the company involved has simply said, we do have the proof somewhere, or it's been used traditionally. So that's all it needs to be, and as long as the ingredients are safe, that they can market it. And of course, they can market it with all sorts of interesting claims, which ultimately, or often, they don't have to back up.
Yeah, we have a very similar process. It's sort of a hybrid process. The Health Canada does claim that everything it licenses has been tested for their efficacy, safety, and quality, which is a bit misleading when it comes to things like homeopathy. We did a report last year, or actually we had a whole campaign last year called the Stop No-Sodes campaign, which concerns homeopathic medications that are given in some cases as a preventative or in replacement of a vaccine, which we had, of course, had a lot of issues with. And these kind of products, they have their own kind of homeopathic number. It's not the same license number as you would get with a standard natural health product. Right. But they're still claiming, Health Canada is, that these products have been assessed for quality, safety, and efficacy, which in the case of these no-sodes, I mean, the only thing they had to supply as far as proof of efficacy was a listing in the American Pharmacopoeia, which basically is a one-paragraph, maybe 50-word sentence saying this is used traditionally for this, and that's it. And that's just a ridiculous level of evidence.
It is. It's interesting. I mean, I guess you and I have been at this sort of thing long enough to know that if something that is homeopathic is claiming it has efficacy behind it, or it really works, then our default position is no, it doesn't.
Yeah, exactly. There is no evidence. But despite that, Health Canada still, approves these items. And the TCM items, I mean, this current monograph caught our eye not only because the actual number of items on it, but there was actually a lack of quite serious or concerning ingredients that were not on this list. We have, because there were so many, of course, we couldn't do a full review. And in fact, I mean, the public shouldn't be responsible for doing a risk review of these products. We should be looking to Health Canada to do these kind of risk reviews. And what was quite evident when we looked at all these ingredients was that we took the approach that well, if anything is going to be toxic, it's probably going to be toxic to your liver. There's probably going to be evidence of that, at least, that exists in the literature. And when we did look at the literature, there were a number of ingredients, probably 30 or 40 ingredients we found that had noted risks for liver toxicity specifically. I mean, that evidence check was done by one of our committee members who actually used to work for that Health Canada department. He's now an adjunct professor. His name's Brian Foster at the University of Ottawa. And it just took him a couple of days to find this information. So who knows what else exists out there as far as risk information. And this, of course, was not published with the monograph. I can only guess what Health Canada did to sort of look at the risks. When we found all these products that were on basically the approved list or the streamlining list, it really raised red flags. And we really wanted to bring this to their attention. So we had to sort of drop what we were doing and focus on this kind of report. It's not the only thing that traditional Chinese medicine ingredients have going for it, that namely liver toxicity. They're sort of well known for containing both adulterations, meaning ingredients in the preparation that are not on the label. Many times it's actually a pharmaceutical grade product, like male enhancement medications, for example, for erectile dysfunction. There have been a number of cases where these traditional Chinese medicines have actually contained Viagra or other pharmaceuticals. So,
no, really?
Of course it would work, right, because of that. And those kind of adulterations are a serious issue. Somebody's taking, I don't know if many of your listeners will probably know this, but if somebody is taking heart medication called nitrates, they could have a very serious and life-threatening reaction if they're taking these other medications which they think are natural and actually contain Viagra. I mean, the problem with herbal medications, of course, is that unless you are growing the herb yourself and harvesting it and processing it, you have no idea what that crushed leaf dried sample that you ship in from China or from wherever is. You have no idea whether that's the actual species of plant that you require or not. You have to actually do quality testing. And the problem is, of course, Health Canada doesn't mandate any mandatory quality control. It's all voluntary. Who knows what's really in these medications? No one is really doing the tests to find out if what's on the label is in the product.
That's frightening. And it also reminds me of this, I guess we could say, the myth of it's natural, therefore it must be good. If people think they're getting traditional Chinese medicine or traditional whatever medicine, we can sort of cast our net a little wider here. It's made from natural ingredients traditionally used in different parts of the world. There's this aura about them, if I might use that word, that they must be okay because they're natural and they've been used for centuries and they're not artificially made in a laboratory. It's quite interesting, and a lot of people still have that opinion, I think. Absolutely.
It seems like Health Canada has taken that, is sort of underwritten its policy by this fallacy that if it's natural, it's good. In the case of natural health products, they do what's called a risk-based assessment, and it's all based on your claim. So if you make a claim like, my product will cure cancer, well, that's a very high-risk claim, right? If that claim is wrong, then it could seriously injure somebody. So
yes,
that kind of claim requires a very high level of evidence, comparable with a pharmaceutical-grade product. But if you choose to make a lower-risk claim, like my product supports the immune system, or supports GI health, then that is considered a low-risk claim, and the level of evidence seriously drops. In fact, if you make a very low-risk general health claim, one of the types of evidence you can use is expert opinion, and that will be enough for Health Canada to approve the product. It is it's just a backwards way of and it misses this idea of efficacy. Right? It sort of assumes that because it's natural, it's safe, and as long as your claim is not claiming anything major, then you can go ahead and sell it.
That's amazing, and I couldn't help but thinking when you were talking about these low risk products that probably the same in Canada. These similar sort of things out here tend to use a lot of weasel words, what we call weasel words, or words that really don't have a good definition, like zest. This pill will give you more zest, or improves your wellness.
Right.
Or has been used to improve your vitality and all these sort of, I guess, weasel words. Do you have similar sort of things over there?
We do. We certainly have. You have to use language that's very similar to the monograph language. However, there's two things that sort of set natural health products apart. First of all, we have under our Food and Drug Act, we've got a what's called a Schedule A, which lists all of the medical conditions that you can't without approval market for cures or treatment. And these include, serious medical conditions, heart disease and cancer and things like that. However, about maybe 6 years ago, that was updated or amended so that if you had a natural health product and you were marketing it for prevention, then you could market it for these Schedule A diseases. So you can't say it's going to cure it, but you can say it will help prevent or help support. So that's one problem. The other problem is that is a pragmatic one, is that Health Canada does not seem to have the resources to properly police these regulations. And so we have a project underway right now at Bad Science Watch, which is trying to identify the marketing of homeopathic products that have a license, but to see if the marketing materials by the distributor actually matches the allowed indication according to the license. And now we're just in the middle of sort of collecting all our data, so we haven't done the analysis yet. But our preliminaries, like our pilot studies, showed even just a cursory look at these kind of websites is that people are completely disregarding the license procedure. And as a distributor, you're not held to the same standard as an actual product manufacturer. So the label might say to support GI health, but a naturopath in Saskatchewan or around Ontario can on their website sell this medication or this preparation and say that it can help cure your ulcers.
Wow.
For example. And that is under the law, under the regulations, Health Canada should be shutting that kind of process down. But it's obvious that people are acting with impunity. They know that it's a complaints-based system, and without alerting Health Canada to all of these problems, nobody's going after them. And so we're trying to identify that kind of mismatch in the market and alert the regulatory arm or the enforcement arm of Health Canada and try to get them to wise up that and realize that people are actually marketing these products in contravention.
It's quite amazing because the similarities between what the situation is in Canada and what the situation here in Australia are quite striking. The TGA in this country, I think, are in the same position. They don't have the resources to police many of the things that they actually give their stamp of approval to when they give them the OST-L, the listing classification. And it is up to people like the skeptical community and other concerned people to spot when people are doing the wrong thing and claiming all sorts of things for these pills and these potions and these mixtures. So it's a pity Canada and Australia are so far apart in one sense.
Yeah, yes. I always say that, especially when we want to go to the beach. Because I live in Toronto and the beach here is great, but it's not Bondi. But no, you're absolutely right. We have. It's sad that we're a consumer protection organization at our heart. Right? That's why Bad Science Watch was really constituted, and
yeah.
And it's become increasingly disheartening to see a regulatory structure that is really not funded, and obviously not funded well enough to have the enforcement that we need. And there's also a basic misunderstanding, I think, between end users or the end prescribers of these products, the naturopaths and the homeopaths and the herbalists and chiropractors. They seem to think that if Health Canada approves it, they have the permission to say whatever they want about the product. Now, of course, it's up to the regulatory colleges. We have a new regulatory college for both naturopaths and homeopaths in Ontario. It already exists in BC as well. So this kind of professionalization of these kind of fringe alt med providers is occurring in Canada, and then the colleges are responsible for protecting that client patient or that patient provider relationship and making it safe. So Health Canada really can't say anything about that. But what was very striking, one of the successful things we had with the no-sodes campaign was that they had to put into the monograph for homeopathic no-sodes that these products are not intended as a replacement for vaccines, and they should not be used as such. So that was a small victory for us. But that kind of language, even though that was implied, because there was no allowable indication previous to that change for the use of these products for as vaccine alternatives, the providers thought that because it had a license, of course it was then deemed effective, right? So by licensing these products, and we saw this in the UK as well. It says, "See, Health Canada approves that influenzium 9C." Since it's licensed, it must be good at preventing the flu. But that is the misunderstanding, that Health Canada doesn't realize that what they're doing by insisting that they've tested these things for efficacy, risk, and high quality, or efficacy, safety, and high quality, is that they are giving these people license to make whatever claim they want and to sort of validate their position that these products actually work when in fact they don't. And I think that Health Canada doesn't realize that. And we've been told through the grapevine that they don't really like us very much for pointing this stuff out. And I'm not surprised, right? Like, who wants to be told they're wrong every step of the way?
Yeah. Nobody. I mean, you and I, who on the planet likes to be told they're wrong often? I mean, once or twice to help you, but if you're told continuously that you're doing something wrong, you can get quite annoyed about that. But it's good to know. It's good to know, Michael, that you're out there. You're out there with Bad Science Watch, annoying people like Health Canada. How many people are involved with Bad Science Watch?
We've got between 20 and 30 volunteers off and on. I mean, we've got 2 project committees working currently, and that's about 12 people. We have about 5 members of the board, and I think a total of 8 or 9 total members. Membership is by invitation, just sort of for people who are strong, supporters and long-term supporters of the organization.
Right.
And so there's about 20 or 30 people so far. We've got a lot of support, we think, in the community. Lots of followers on Twitter, and we get a lot of traffic that way. So we're slowly building, the organization up. Certainly, our next kind of effort is to start to raise more money so we can have a paid executive. I mean, it'd be great. One of the problems with we're a web-based organization. We have no bricks and mortar building, right? This is all sort of virtual activism, as it were. So the idea is to grow the organization, raise some money, hire an executive director, and get an office in Ottawa, which is our nation's capital, where the legislature sits, where Parliament sits, I should say, and to have that kind of access not only to the politicians but to the media. So we're slowly we're trying to stake our claim and grow the organization. We'll be certainly putting hat in hand and looking for donations very soon to sort of raise that kind of serious money, so we can have a voice and defend science in public policy in Canada.
It sounds like a good idea to me. Folks, if you want to find out more about Bad Science Watch, visit www.badsciencewatch.ca. If you want to follow Bad Science Watch on Twitter, you can do that at Bad Science Watch. You even have a Facebook page, and people can go to the webpage and sign up to the newsletter.
Absolutely. We'd love to hear from you.
And that's exactly how I get my information from Bad Science Watch too. Well, Michael Kruse, thank you very much. I know you've been awake all night just waiting to talk to the Skeptic Zone.
Yes, indeed. Yes,
and oddly enough, I've been awake all day just waiting to talk to you. And so, Michael, all the way over there in Toronto, thanks very much.
You're very welcome, Richard. Great to talk to you again.
The Canadian public has been poorly served by a government which displays little respect for objectivity and science. Canadians are taken advantage of through weak consumer protection regulations that allow the sale of products and services that don't work, and our media is all too willing to report dubious claims without examination if it will attract readers and sell advertising. Individual freedom of choice is being jeopardized as the unscrupulous or misinformed attempt to influence our important decisions. It's time for a change. Bad Science Watch is a new activist organization that will challenge the media, advertisers, and politicians when they promote unsound science that can threaten the well-being of Canadians. We will provide analysis of dubious scientific claims to you, our government, and the media, and campaign for policy decisions based on the best evidence available. We will take action to pressure politicians to enforce and strengthen consumer protection regulation. We will stand against the exploitation of you and your family by the peddlers of bad science. You can help us. Donate or pledge to support our campaigns and research efforts. Join our mailing list to receive action alerts and help effect real change. Tell your friends about us. Find out more at badsciencewatch.ca. Bad Science Watch. Important issues. Sound science. Real change.
Hey, this is Jay Novella from the Skeptic's Guide to the Universe podcast. Did you know that there are thousands of skeptical reports, interviews, and investigations going back to 1981, free to download? Just visit www.skeptics.com.au. Click the publications link and enjoy almost every back issue of The Skeptic, the journal from Australian skeptics. You can also subscribe online and get the latest digital or hard copy of this, the world's second oldest skeptical magazine. That's www.skeptics.com.au or just Google Australian Skeptics.
From the pages of the Skeptic magazine at www.skeptics.com.au, we bring you your stars for April 2014 with our astrologer, Dr. Duarf Ekaf. Capricorn, your love of animals extends to the kitchen where you love to cook them. Do you know that animals have their own star signs too? Imagine a ram born under the sign of a fish, or a bull born under the sign of a goat. Talk about confused animals. Still, I'm sure they would taste good. Your lucky rabbit has all its feet. Aquarius, remember the advice your mother gave you about reading strange horoscopes? Well, it's all true, but thanks for reading this one anyway. Now let me see. Pluto is entering the fourth region of the... What? What's that? Pluto is no longer a planet? What? Do you mean all those thousands of horoscopes that use Pluto as a planet are now null and void? That I did not predict. Pisces, even though you are really trying your best, other people of your star sign have voted you off. Please apply to another star sign, or maybe try another planet with different star signs. Better yet, make up your own star sign, invite others to join, and start to write a horoscope for them. Your lucky song is I'm a Loser. Aries, I see in your stars you picking up your phone and dialing my $5.99 per minute tarot hotline. Yes, the cards can tell you all. In fact, your cards are telling me to dial my $7.99 per minute psychic reading hotline. The amazing thing is, I see the psychic predictions have you dialing my $9.99 per minute astrology hotline, in which you were told to dial my $13 $1.99 per minute Feng Shui hotline. But why stop there? Taurus. This is a good month for counting the days until next month. If you count more than 31, you're doing something very wrong. Since you gave up drinking, your lucky bodily organ is your liver. Your unlucky business owner is your local publican. Gemini. Forget trying to remember all those things you forgot about last time you read your horoscope. If you are driving a car, stop reading this immediately. Now to your lucky numbers, and the stars forecast this month that your lucky numbers are 747, 767, 787, and A380. The stars see a lot of air travel in your future. Cancer. Kissing a frog will not turn it into a prince, but I'm sure the frog won't care. But you might have a new best friend. You could try kissing a snake. I wonder what that would turn into. No, the stars recommend you stick to humans, and superglue is just the thing for that. Leo. To quote Nostradamus,
"In the year 2000 plus 14, the great Dr. Ekaf will cast a horoscope. Those in the southern land will send him money. Blood will flow in the blood bank."
There you are, and you'll see that Nostradamus is never wrong. Well, maybe sometimes, but not this time. Your lucky blood type is your own. How lucky is that? Virgo. Mars rules your life this month, which is why you keep running to the service station to buy some more. Imagine if there was a planet called Kit Kat. As for myself, I was born under the sign of the roast duck, which explains a lot. Your lucky year will be 2093, as you'll be lucky to ever see it. Libra. People born under your sign are true skeptics and never read horoscopes, which means you must have been born under a different sign. I think it's time you had a word to your mother. Scorpio. At times you wished you lived in the past. If you find yourself there, you could make a fortune predicting the future, which would be the past for you, but the past as you look into the future, as you already know what the past has in store in the future date. So there you go. If you make it back to the future, you'll be rich. Artheuchus. Don't let negative people get you down. It's much better if it's positive people getting you down, as they always make you feel good about it somehow. Sagittarius. The stars are unclear for you at the moment. Well, I'll come clean about this. I have writer's block. The hell with the stars. They don't help at all. I mean, really. I'm supposed to get your predictions from points of lights in the sky? Still, it beats working for a living. My lucky numbers are those in my bank account.
AstronomyCast takes a facts-based journey through the cosmos as it offers listeners weekly discussions on astronomical topics ranging from planets to cosmology. Hosted by Fraser Kane of Universe Today and myself, Dr. Pamela Gay of Southern Illinois University, Edwardsville, this show brings the questions of an avid astronomy lover directly to an astronomer. Together, Fraser and I explore what is known and being discovered about the universe around us. Join us each week as we take a facts-based journey through the cosmos at astronomycast.com.
Welcome to A Week in Science from RiAus, bringing you the science you need to know. It's hard to beat the crisp, refreshing taste of an ice-cold beer, but behind the amber haze and frothing fizz, beer is also humanity's first biotechnology venture. We first discovered beer about 8,000 years ago in ancient Egypt and ancient Sumer. The world's first brewers mixed bread, germinated grain, and water in ceramic jars. The yeast inside the bread fermented the sugars in the grain, producing alcohol and, ta-da, beer. Almost everyone drank it at the time, as it was high in carbohydrates and protein, but was also safer to drink than the contaminated water, making it the ultimate food source. Today, there are thousands of brands of beer and dozens of different styles, but there are really only two main types of beer, ales and lagers, the difference arising from the type of yeast used. Ales use a top fermenting yeast, which operates at a higher temperature. This means that fermentation produces not only alcohol, but various other aroma molecules that give rise to fruity and floral flavors. Lagers, on the other hand, use bottom fermenting yeast, which operates at a lower temperature. This means that no extra aroma molecules are produced, making the beer a crisp and clear expression of the grain. And now, 4 fast facts about Australia's favourite beverage. Ancient Greeks and Romans didn't really appreciate the beauty of beer. They thought it was most useful to soften ivory to make jewelry. Beer is a diuretic that causes us to lose fluids very quickly. Every bottle of beer you drink produces about half a litre of urine. Per standard drink, beer contains more vitamins and minerals than wine. And ancient Egyptians thought that drinking beer and getting drunk helped them become closer with the gods. That's it for this Week in Science. For more information on beer, go to the RiAus website, riaus.org.au. Follow us on Twitter at RiAus and like us on Facebook. I'm Nobby Leong, and we'll catch you next week.
Virtual Skeptics is a weekly web show in which we discuss the latest news in skepticism.
Whether it's a new case of spontaneous human combustion, a conspiracy theory, the latest update on the upcoming robot apocalypse, tech news for skeptics, or the latest wacky religious claim, we cover it all.
We record the show live as a Google Plus on-air hangout, so join us and our host, Brian Gregory, for an hour of mostly intelligent talk every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern U.S. time.
Watch us at virtualskeptics.com and participate in the show on our hashtag VirtualSkeptics.
The Virtual Skeptics. It's like Meet the Press, but with chupacabras.
Well, here I am at Skeptics in the pub in Sydney, but you know what, folks? This is not the only skeptical event in Sydney to do with drinking. Where's my dinner? Oh, no, it's not here yet. Who do we have here?
Jane Malcolm.
Hello, Jane. You're telling me about critical drinking?
Well, critical drinking is just an informal meet-up in Newtown, which we've been running. I think we had our inaugural event last month. And it's just an informal meet-up for people to get together and have a good argument under fair terms.
No, you don't need a special excuse for people to have a good argument these days, I don't think. Tell me more about it. Where do you meet and when?
We're a Facebook meet-up group, so we tend to roam around a bit. But
so you don't have a certain pub?
No. We roam around King Street. It's all done by consensus, so if you join the group, we just either put up a vote or discuss.
There's a lot of good pubs around King Street, I must say that. Exactly. Yeah, up and down.
You can't pick one.
It's Fern. Hello, Fern.
Hi. Yeah, you can't just pick one pub on King Street. That's why we move around, because everyone wants to go to a different pub every month.
I just did the cardinal sin, folks. I nearly spilt your drink. I'm sorry. You saved it. If people are around the Newtown area, the inner west of Sydney, which is not far from where I live, what's the deal? Where should they go to find out more about critically drinking?
It's a Facebook meetup at the moment. We're thinking about putting a proper meetup up, but at the moment it's a Facebook group. It's Critical Drinkers Sydney. If you search for us, you'll find us.
Critical Drinkers Sydney. I see. So that doesn't mean you go somewhere and taste beers and think, could be better.
No. We do that. Actually, we do a bit of that. We were kind of, I'm sure a lot of skeptics have this problem, but we had an issue with using the word skeptics, trying to get people to come to it who are quite interested in science, but obviously the word has become a prefix for climate, Holocaust, or vaccine most recently.
Isn't this a sad situation? You know, it's a situation that we in Australian skeptics have been dealing with for many years, because in the popular imagination the word skeptic means a naysayer or a denier, right? And we know that it means someone who carefully evaluates your evidence. Critical is good, although it sounds a bit critical.
When you put it with drinkers, I don't think.
And I think you've come up with a good question for tonight. What is another term which might be more appealing than skeptic?
Well, we don't have the answers. We've gone with critical drinkers, but
well, you have. You've come up with something at least, yeah.
Yeah, we just. kind of felt that we had to come up with something. Really the catalyst was the vaccine skeptics. We thought, that's just...
I think for me, when I heard...
Maybe better to give up at that point, I think.
Well, when I heard people saying the climate change skeptics, or even before then, the moon landing skeptics, and I was just head desking, ringing up radio stations and saying, well, it's not us. It's not us, you know.
Also, I mean, we're a small informal group that's just started, so we don't have your rebranding issues with we can just randomly change our name. We're basically a group of people that meet at the pub, so...
Oh, the freedom, folks, the freedom. Well, I'm glad you've randomly decided to come to Skeptics in the Pub tonight. It looks like it's going to be... Oh, they're setting up the screen as we speak. It looks like it's going to be an interesting talk all about mosquitoes.
I'm looking forward to it. I've got a bit of a side bet that there's going to be a Gary Larson cartoon in there.
You might be on a winner then. You might be on a winner. Well, thanks, ladies, for letting us know about critically drinking. And it sounds like something I might even pop along to only for research reasons, of course.
Strictly for research, obviously.
Look at the poor thing's cocaine.
A challenge toward the record. We did have Canley Lather, as you mentioned earlier, go around here.
Sounds of the Australian pub, ladies and gentlemen. Greyhound racing on the television. It's still Skeptics in the Pub, and I'm afraid my voice has run away with the greyhounds at the moment, but that always happens at these events. I'm with Joe Alabaster. Hello, Joe.
Hello, Richard. How are you today?
Well, I'm apart from my voice running away with the greyhounds, I'm doing okay. Thank you very much for all your help lately with the Skeptic Zone. Now, you've catalogued virtually every episode of the Skeptic Zone. It must have been a terrible experience for you.
Highly traumatic, yes. No, it was actually quite interesting. I could sort of see a few trends developing, who was doing guest segments, what sort of interviews were being done. It was, yeah.
I think you mentioned to me when you were cataloguing all the episodes, you could see when Maynard was a guest, and then before long he started doing his interviews and reports.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. Very solid appearances after an initial couple of interviews. Yeah. He was definitely around. It's the Maynard phase.
Oh, so lucky we are to have him too. Now, here's tonight's question, which is, I was asking earlier before my voice ran away, is the word skeptic. The word skeptic, it's got lots of baggage, it really does. People think of climate change skeptics or moon landing skeptics.
Or vaccination skeptics.
Indeed. Do you think that is a very negative thing for us? Is it hard to fight?
I think it can be, but something I've found, actually, when I was on my way home from the Skeptics dinner last weekend, I was chatting to a taxi driver who was asking, how my night had been, where I'd been, etc. And I mentioned that I'd been to the Australian Skeptics dinner, and he said, what sort of skeptics? What do you deal with? Do you deal with conspiracy theories? I was like, yeah, that's one of the things that we talk about. Generally looking at it with a skeptical eye and generally debunking these things rather than believing. And that led to actually a decent conversation. We ended up talking about sort of scientific skepticism as far as the medical field and what was evidence-based, what wasn't. So while I do get somewhat frustrated seeing people take the name skeptic, who I'm not sure necessarily are scientific skeptics, it does lead to some decent discussions.
That's an interesting angle. Because yes, I can identify with that when you say you're a skeptic. I've had some awkward conversations where people completely don't get it, even after you explain it to them. And I recently had a conversation with a woman who was emptying a bin, apparently. I don't know what's going on over there. Who, when I said there were skeptical conventions, she looked absolutely gobsmacked and said, "What do you do at a skeptics convention? Just sit around saying I don't believe in stuff?" There's still that perception out there.
Yeah, I've had a little bit of that actually from a friend that I was speaking to. He was under the impression that basically we got together, we did a whole lot of groupthink. It was analogous almost to a religion or a church service where we all agree, affirm what each other think and pat each other on the back. And I wasn't actually able to explain to him some of the disagreements I've had with people.
Yes,
particularly at the last Skeptics convention. But
because we do disagree.
Yes,
of course,
and that is valuable. I think. I enjoy that.
Yeah. Well, thank you for your insights, Jo.
That's okay, anytime.
And next time I have a big project like cataloguing the entire Skeptic Zone, I'll give you an email.
Fantastic, thank you.
It's the trots. It's the harness racing on the TV now. What an interesting pub this is. Hello, Anne.
Hello, Richard.
Hello, good to see you here tonight. Now, you're down from the Blue Mountains.
Yes, I live in Katoomba.
Not far from Joe Alabaster.
Not far at all.
You are here tonight to enjoy Skeptics in the pub, of course, but also you were telling us about a new group, newish.
No, not new at all, actually. We've existed for at least 10 years, I think.
You're here to tell me about an old group. Tell me about this group, and tell the listeners too.
Oh, hello. The group I want to tell you about is the Blackheath Philosophy Forum, which is, of course, held in Blackheath, which is just a little bit west of Katoomba.
On the train line?
On the train line. The venue is across the road from the train station.
Oh, good.
So it's pretty easy to get there. The first talk is on the 19th of April, that's Easter Saturday, and all the talks start at 4 o'clock, and they'll go on fortnightly until early August, when our last talk is actually a talk that we're doing in conjunction with the Blackheath History Forum, which they run their talks after we run ours. So there's a sort of late winter and ours are early winter. It's a fantastic group of speakers and topics we've got lined up for this year. And check us out. We have a website. We're also on Facebook. Do join in the discussion on Facebook. That'll be fun.
So you have a website and a Facebook?
Yes.
What's the website? What's the URL? Do you know? She's just fallen on the floor.
I'm such a Facebook addict, and I do moderate the Facebook page, so I'm pretty stuck in there.
That's all right. Yeah. So if I go to Facebook, what do I type in?
Blackheath Philosophy Forum.
Yeah, right. That's pretty easy. Blackheath Philosophy Forum sounds like a good event to go to. Excuse my voice at the... I always lose it at these pub nights because the room in there is so loud. Now the discussion tonight is the word skeptic, the term skeptic. We know what it means.
Yeah.
We know what it means. But to the great unwashed public out there, to the great public, it has all sorts of meanings.
Well, many people think it means cynicism.
They do. Could we do better in marketing, or could we do better in a word, or have the moon landing skeptics and the climate change skeptics and the skeptical skeptics of the skeptics gazumped us somehow? Have we let our guard down? What do you think?
I'm not sure how we can better define the word, or if we could use a different word. But I want to bring it back to my connection to the Philosophy Forum.
Here we go.
To say that then the reason that I wanted to tell the Skeptic Zone listeners about the Philosophy Forum is I think the two things are so well intertwined, and that skepticism is actually philosophical activism. So it's taking philosophical principles of critical thinking and applying them to real world things where. Skeptics try to help people. They try to debunk, sham medical cures, for example, and that uses philosophical tools.
Right. Although we to be honest, we probably prefer the term investigate. But I know what you mean. We do end up.
Yes.
However, we do end up, strangely enough, debunking many things as we go along.
Yes.
But that's a discussion for another time.
Oh yes, perhaps we shouldn't presume the answer in the question.
So, what did you think of our speech? Our speaker tonight, it was all about mosquitoes.
Oh, it was fantastic.
Wasn't it good?
And yes, I did leave it feeling a bit itchy. I've always wondered why mosquitoes like me more than they like my partner. My partner loves that they like me more because they keep away from him.
Isn't that?
But we didn't get an answer tonight. He said, there are 300-400 chemicals that make up what's on our skin, and we just can't tell why some people are more attracted.
But what I found interesting was he confirmed that yes, mosquitoes do find some people more attractive than others. I always thought that was an old myth.
Oh, okay. I know it's not, because I come out with 20 bites and my partner has none. It's completely unfair.
And it's just the sort of things you can learn at Skeptics in the Pub, folks. I recommend it. Thanks, Anne.
Thank you, Richard.
Thank you for listening to the Skeptic Zone podcast, and thank you for those people who contribute less than $1 a week, of course, via PayPal, and you can do that at www.skepticzone.tv. Very much looking forward to the skeptical events coming up later in the year. TAM, of course, the amazing meeting in Las Vegas. Well, it'll be great to see James Randi. Haven't seen James Randi for almost a year. It's really nice to catch up with him, and we normally find a few minutes to have a quiet chat. It's really great. And later in the year, indeed, the 28th to the 30th of November, in Sydney, we have the Australian Skeptics National Convention with the Skeptics Guide to the Universe. George Rabb, Dick Smith, Dr. Carl Kruseniski, Dr. Rachel Dunlop will be speaking, and so many more. I can't even talk about it. Get your tickets at www.skeptics.com.au. Prostate cancer, indeed, and homeopathy. Oh, sorry, yes. Still not happy about that. But for this week, this is Richard Saunders signing off. I mean, how dare you mention prostate cancer in regards to sugar water? And this is Richard Saunders signing off from Sydney, Australia.
You've been listening to the Skeptic Zone. Visit our website at www.skepticzone.tv for comments, contacts, and extra video reports.